Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before we do, let's talk about this week's tip. Now, I have mentioned grading notes in the past. I have only sent one note in to get graded. Getting a note graded is a pretty big expense, and that note is then away from your collection for a while. It can take 2, 3, 4 months sometimes to have stuff graded. You have to consider how much you paid for the note and how much you think grading the note will improve the value. The thing is that if you have a note that you think is a 65, the second you take that note and go like this, now it's a 64. Just by simply grabbing the note and turning it, you are now putting a little bit of a line into the note and you've now decreased it. So don't just think of grading a note as putting a number on it, but remember the other half of it, which is you are preserving that note. And more importantly, you are preserving that note in the exact grade that is written on the holder. It's very easy to damage a note, especially if it's one in perfect shape. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, the reason I bring that up is later on in this video, you're going to see the difference between a graded and an ungraded note, not only side by side in the notes themselves, but in the price as well. So if you don't have graded notes, maybe you want to think about getting some graded. And then again, if you do have notes that you are thinking about grading, make sure that they are worth getting graded. If you have a note that's worth $20 that you paid $20 for, and if you get it graded high enough and it'll be $60, well, it's going to cost you $60 more to have it graded. So no, that wouldn't be worth it. But if you've got notes where you bought them for the VG price, but you think that there's a substantial bonus in getting it graded, well, then I'd consider it. Next year, I say next year because we're currently at the end of 2021, but for 2022, I'm going to try to explore the grading a little bit more, and I've got a couple ideas for that. So anyway, here's my 1,000 in singles. Let's get these out of the way, and let's take a look at what I found this week. Starting off this week, I have a birthday note. Well, birthday note, anniversary note. This is borderline the edge of what I'd save. 1901 would be the year, and that would be April 24th. So, yeah, 1901, I don't think anybody from 1901 is still around. But, yeah, it's still a date. I probably shouldn't have pulled it just because, like I said, I'm not really going to find a buyer at this particular time. But this one, possibly. Here's a birthday note that's a little interesting. 1957, that would be November 13th. So that might be a little interesting to some people. I found some trinaries. So this is 0s, 3s, and 9s. 2s, 4s, and 9s. I've got quads here, quad 3s. Here's quad 4s with a 4th, and it's trinary, 0s, 2s, and 4s. Quad 5s, decent shape on that one. Quad 9s, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, it's quad 9s. And some stars. 2017 star note, 2017 A star note, I should say. And when I say 2017 A, I'm talking about this A, not this A. And of course, with your stars, double check them. Yeah, it's a star, but are they filled? That's an overprinting error. I have yet to find a filled star, but people are sending me pictures of the ones that they've found, so they're out there. Keep your eyes peeled. Another 2017 A. I didn't even look. Are these just checking the serial numbers? No, same print run, but they're not anywhere near consecutive. 2017 A. Well, 2017 A, Boston. 2013 B. Now, I've got a couple people who have said that they've gotten matched numbers as far as what is published on the website for trying to match particular numbers. So yeah, you can find the matches. Now they're still in the process of trying to contact the owner of the other notes, but I know of at least 2 stories of people who are trying to get into contact with people who claim to have the other half of their matching bills. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, in 2013, this is 2013, The Fed told both printing sites, both Fort Worth and Washington, to print New York star notes. So Fort Worth and Washington both started printing New York notes, the B notes, but they both started at the same number. And because of that, there are roughly 1 million bills that have matching partners, and you're not supposed to be able to find exact matches when it comes to serial numbers like that. So with these, they're out there, and the first pair that was found sold for close to $150,000. Some of the pairs have sold for as little as $20,000. There's been 9 of them now. So I don't know how much value is left in these, but it's still more than $1. So yeah, it's still worth saving, still worth checking, that's for sure. Another 2013 star. This one is Atlanta. 2009 star note. And we get to some of the older bills. Now, 2001 is the newest old bill that I'll save. This one looks like it's got a tear in the bottom. Yeah, that's too bad. I'll probably be sending that one back. But yeah, you have to remember this has been out for 20 years, and singles aren't really designed to be out for 20 years, so that's why I save everything that's 20 years and back. There's another 2001, pretty rough shape on this one as well. Kind of a neat serial number, trinary, 2s, 9s, and 5s. 1999. 1995 in pretty good shape, checking to see if it's a web note. A web note's only going to have the single digit on this side. A web note will not have the location here, because there wasn't a location. And you can also tell a web note by checking the back. The plate number on the bottom here is for a regular note. If it was a web note, it would be up here. So all kinds of ways to see if it was a web note. This one clearly is not. 1993, also a shot at a web note, and you guys can look at that and see that it is not. 93 notes are hard to come by. They just didn't print them for a whole lot of time. And here's a 1988, and the oldest note in the group is a tattered, ripped 1985. So that's what I found this week. Let me get these out of the way. What did I pull out from my box? Well, I have a new edition. And it's graded. Let's take a look at this. You guys hear me talking about these all the time. This, as you can see, is a $1 silver certificate. It is the Series 1935G silver certificate, and it's a star note. So I tell you about the 35G because it was the transition year. On the back, you'll notice this one says, "In God We Trust." This was the first time that you could find "In God We Trust" put on currency like that. Now, for some reason, they started putting that about halfway through. So the majority of the notes do not have "In God We Trust." And then the last third or so do have that on there. I found this note, as you can see, it's been graded. And you can look at the note and see that it's in really nice shape. As we go through this, it is really, really good shape. And I don't normally buy notes in this good a shape that are graded because they're expensive. How good a shape is this one? Any guesses? How about a 64 PPQ? And you can see here, 1935G silver certificate, and it says right on there "with motto," and it's a star note. Interesting here, serial number, and there's an actual star, not just the asterisk, but the actual star right there. I find that kind of cool. So we've got a star note, graded, and like I was referring to earlier, preserved. Its condition's been preserved in here. So I know that this is a 64. I can handle the note. I can pass it around and show people, and it's still a 64. Whereas if I was to do this with a ungraded note, I could be damaging the note. But this one is in such a high grade that with it being graded, I bought it graded. I did not send it out to be graded. Now, the thing is with this note is, well, let's look at the price on this. I did not pay $235 for this note, but $235 for this graded note, is that a good price or is that a bad price? What do you guys think about that? As something to compare it to before I bust out the book, like I said, this is the 1935G star note with the motto. And a month or two ago maybe, I showed these, which are the 1935G star notes, both of these 1935G stars, and these are without the motto. Now these have been circulated, and because these have been circulated, I picked up one for $9, one for $12. I've got two circulated notes, $9 and $12 a piece. But because this one graded so high, this one they had $235 on. Now I got this for about $180 is I think what I've got in this particular note, but $180 compared to $9, compared to $12. It was just kind of funny to see a $9 note, a $12 note, and a $180 note in my collection here. Let's take a quick peek at what the book has to say about these. Move this out of the way a little bit here so we can see. All right. So up top, we've got the right where my finger is here, the 1617 with the star. That is with the motto. That is the lesser of the two, or the rarer of the two. And I can just barely get this in here. The 1616 star is the G without the motto. Just as an example, you can see that there's 8.6 million of those, and there's only 1 million of these. So 8.6 without the motto, 1 million with the motto. And I wish I could get all that in there real well. Look at the starting price. VG8 for this one is $5 without the motto, and it's $15 with the motto. That's where it starts, but mine isn't a VG8. Mine is a little further along. You can see a Choice 63 is $175, and a Gem 65 is $250. So this note is somewhere between $175 and $250, because 175 is a 63, 250 is a 65. I paid $180 for this, so I think I got a decent deal on that. But more importantly, you can now understand why some people would want to get notes graded. Imagine seeing this note ungraded in a case like this. What do you think the price tag would be on that? $40? You know, if it was a $40 note, it may be, $25. Well, to get it graded could cost you as much as $80. Well, that brings you up to $120, but in cost. But you're talking about a note that's $180 to $250 now that it's been graded. So this would be a good note to get graded, and that's an example of being able to find stuff raw and being able to send it in and being able to turn a profit. Anyway, I was just excited to get a graded with motto 1935G star note. I figured if I'm going to have a graded note, it's definitely going to be the stars, because the stars are a little more pricey, and since I always make such a big stink about the 35Gs, this one is, I'm pretty proud to have this one. All right, guys, if you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love reading all your comments. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.